Hi folks, welcome to the Ham Radio Newbie. I'm Jeff, I'm the Ham Radio Newbie. And this video is a longer version, a complete version of the short I did called Counterpoise. Now for me, the counterpoise concept has been really quite confusing because it seems that term is very overloaded within the ham radio field. But I'm going to share what I've learned over the last week or so from various places that I've done some studying. If you want more information where I got it from, I'll be happy to share that in a personal message. Oh, and yes, I did rearrange the shack a little bit, try to get a little more room on the desk, and I think it'll make it easier when I'm doing something where I'm transmitting on the air and you'll be able to see it better. All right, I'm going to start with a dictionary definition of counterpoise. Then we're going to talk about how counterpoise is used. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about some practical examples for different types of antennas. Okay, let's begin with the dictionary definition. Well, actually, from the book Stealth Antennas by Steve Nichols, good book, by the way, counterpoise is defined as, and I'm going to read it so that I don't get it wrong, it's defined as a wire or group of wires mounted close to the ground, but insulated from the ground, to form a low impedance, high capacitance path to ground. Used at MF, medium frequency, and HF, high frequency, to provide an RF ground for the antenna. See also ground planes, and then he goes on to define ground planes as a system of conductors placed beneath an elevated antenna to serve as an earth ground. What a counterpoise does is it completes the RF circuit. Remember that an antenna is a transducer, right? It's transmitting, or when it's transmitting, it's taking current from the radio and converting that into dynamic electromagnetic field. Just like in a DC circuit where we have either ground or we have a complete circuit, in an RF circuit, we need to have a path for the RF energy to return. Now, the circuit completes no matter what, but not necessarily efficiently. And any inefficiency increases the impedance, and it decreases how much power goes into that electromagnetic field, and that decreases how far people can hear us. When I show you the example antenna, this is when I first learned about counterpoise. I didn't have a counterpoise connected, and my SWR was off the chart, and I thought I had a broken antenna, called them back, and the guy was actually quite helpful. Okay, so vertical antennas are the most obvious that need counterpoises, or let me rephrase that, or have the most obvious counterpoises that you can see. For commercial AM radio antennas, for example, what they do is they literally bury cables, pretty thick cables at that, beneath the ground. They're not very far beneath the ground. They're certainly less than a foot from the one that I saw them doing, but I'm really not sure how deep they go. Anyway, what these wires do is they help set the signal propagation direction, and they complete the circuit. Now, with the vertical antenna that we would use, you still need to complete that RF circuit, and you're going to do that with lengths of wire typically mounted at the base of the antenna, and typically it'll generally be above the ground. Now here's where we run into that overloading of the term that I was talking about earlier. To many, those lengths of wire are called radials, and they are placed on the ground, not above it. Technically, the radials and counterpoise are not the same thing. They're different. A counterpoise just closes the RF loop, whereas a radial is part of the radiating elements of the antenna, and it helps set your pattern. However, many hams, many books, and an awful lot of the videos use those terms interchangeably, which makes it incredibly confusing for those of us trying to learn. Let me show you a couple of examples. So these are three of my antennas. This is the first one that I got, and this is where I learned about counterpoise, because I had this antenna, I got this antenna, and the way it works is you put different length aerials up in here, and then you have these plugs, and you move the plugs around. There are a bunch of it that are this style, not just this brand, and they all work the same basic way. I thought I could use it for multiple frequencies, or multiple bands actually. I never got it to work really well for me, but part of the reason was initially I had it just on the same table. And this is a wooden table, no counterpoise. So I called up, said, hey, what's going on here? And what I found out is this requires a counterpoise. It requires something steel because the magnetic base is how it completes the RF circuit. So what this is meant to do is take this out on your car, put it on top of your car, and go out in the field. Don't drive with it. It's not sturdy enough for that, but go out in the field and use it. Sorry to those of you who are Corvette owners, won't quite work for you. Like I said, I never really made a whole lot of good contacts with this, but it's the first one that I've got. By the way, what I do today, since I don't often put it on my car, I have taken it out to a prototype thing, but I also normally have it on the filing cabinet that's right behind the rest of the stuff in my shack. So this is the second antenna that I got. I got this off either Temu or AliExpress. Somebody on Reddit saw it and said how great it was and it was working really well. And it was like 20, maybe 30 bucks. So I gave it a try. What it's got is this coil here in the middle, and you've got an aerial that extends, and you have to adjust the aerial for the frequency and band, but mostly frequency that you're using. And it's got this metal spike which goes into the ground. This metal spike should, important word, should be your counterpoise, but that doesn't work well enough on its own. So it comes with what used to be a ribbon cable, which you divide up and you use these as radials that go out there, or really I think more of a counterpoise, because a radial you want to tune to 1/4 band, 1/4 wavelength. So I just kind of put these out. I'm going to replace this with some lengths of wire, and we'll see how it actually works, if it works better. My favorite antenna, of course, is the end-fed half wave. This is the un-end, and the antenna just fell on the floor. How does it work? Well, I mean, obviously, it's just a piece of wire that's going out. Where is the counterpoise? The counterpoise is here in your coax. It's the ground sheath in your coax. That's what goes back. You can also hang a little dog leg off of it. I have done that. It does lower the SWR a little bit, so I'm assuming that that is acting as a counterpoise as well, but it works just fine as it is. Sorry for moving the camera on you, trying to get my face in here. So that's about it for today. You know, as I said earlier, if I've made any mistakes, please correct me. Put some notes in the chat, DM or email me. If you found this valuable, I want to share it because, like I said, it was so hard for me to find any information on counterpoise. So please subscribe, like, all the typical things that people ask you to do. Until then, this is Jeff, the ham radio newbie, 73, and catch you on the air.